Becoming a dad making a difference requires discipline. But what does discipline look like in practice? Today, my guest is Kyle Carnohan, founder of Superhuman Fathers. Kyle is dedicated to helping men build the discipline and the practices in their lives so that they can become the best for the people they love most and that they can inspire others along the way. Kyle is a father to 5 amazing kids and husband to his wife, Whitney. And Kyle is going to share how a life of mediocrity can be transformed into an amazing and purposeful life by taking a few steps that require discipline and action. Now, Kyle is a fiery guy. This is a fiery conversation. And I'll give you a heads up. If you're in the car with the kids, there's some language in this episode. So maybe pop back to another episode and come back to this one later. But I am proud to have Kyle on here. He is fired up about helping you step into a role in your life and to help you overcome the excuses that you are putting in your way to achieve what you're able to achieve. My conversation with Kyle Carnohan starts right now. Kyle, welcome to the Dad's Making a Difference podcast, brother. Jack to have you on today. How are you doing?
Dude, trying to stay jacked, you know?
Trying to stay jacked, stay ripped, stay lean, in the nice weather, no less.
Yeah, San Diego life. It's beautiful here. Just got done burning 386 calories on my mini ramp outside by myself with the little son, and it's hard at 42 to get out there, dude. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
yeah, not as often as you hope, and not because you don't want to. It's because the body doesn't let you.
Dude, there's something about it. It's weird. You get into your 40s, and I mean, guys, listen and understand this. Like, it's harder to go to the gym. It's harder to get out of bed. It's hard. It's just like, especially doing shit that you could hurt yourself with. Like, skateboarding is gnarly. When I was a kid, like, you would just do it, not think about it. You wouldn't think about getting hurt. Now, like, what's your deal on language with this thing? I want to be respectful.
We try to keep it
mellow.
Clean, but it's all good.
All right, well, I'll filter myself. I'm sure something will slip out, but I'll do my best. But like, as a kid, you just don't think about it. And now I have this voice in my head. It's like, you're gonna get effed up. You're gonna get effed up. You're gonna get effed up. You're gonna break something. You're gonna break something. It's like ringing in my ears like a song, and I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that right now. You know, but I like to still fight through that and like have these daily battles, kind of manufactured battles, because that's where as men we feel alive, you know?
Agreed. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your story, Cal? Because, you have Superhuman Fathers, which I love. I think your message is awesome. And from just the first couple minutes of this, people know that you're intense and you're passionate about what you do. And often a question comes like, where does that come from? Like, what's the story behind this? So, Cal, where does this come from? How was Superhuman Fathers born? How did you start doing this?
Well, so I was born with two things: a lot of compassion and love for other people, and then also a lot of fear and insecurity. So like, that was kind of the mix of what I started on this planet with. And so with that mix, you can't do much because you're too scared. You don't feel like a leader. You want to help, but you can't because you don't have the confidence to do so. And so I always had this desire to be somebody who could be of value to other people and impact and help. But I always seemed to be, as a kid, kind of behind, you know, like the follower, the kid that nobody noticed, picked last on the team, couldn't do a pull up in eighth grade, you know, like, so that was me, and didn't get good grades, like just kind of felt like I was just a bother to my teachers and just felt kind of like a dork, you know, and then of course that comes with a certain level of bullying because you don't have the confidence, so you just kind of get pushed around a little bit. And then as I got older, I found skateboarding, which was massive for me because I learned that if I just do one thing more than anyone else, I'll get better than that at everyone else. And then all of a sudden because you're good at that thing, people start to respect you. When they respect you, start to listen to you.
Right.
I was like, this is interesting. So like I develop a skill set that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but yet these guys now will listen to me. My buddies will listen to me about advice that I give now. And they're asking me questions about life because I skate good.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. But this, as men, we look to other men to find things we respect. And if we respect what they do or their skill sets or how they look or how they are, we'll attach that to like everything else in life. Like you
Yep.
see a guy who's jacked
Yeah.
and is in good health, you're like, dude, can you help me with my marriage?
Yeah.
Even
Well,
though that has nothing to do with it technically,
yeah.
although you could say the discipline, and all that will bleed over, and we can talk about that later. But technically, he might not have, he might be an asshole,
Yeah.
So like, but as men, we look to people with money, with the body, with the things, and then we will listen to what they say.
Mm.
And so I think what happened in my life, I was like, okay, well, I want to have an impact in men's lives. I want to teach them how to actually be happy and have fulfillment in this world, which I know is not, it's not having the body or the things or the money, but those things come when you become this man that you're seeking to be. But in order to get their attention, I have to be.
Yeah.
So I stacked the cards in my favor here, where I'm going to try to develop a life that you want so that you'll listen to me and I can have an impact in your life. I am personally saying I'm not going to hire a coach or take advice from someone that doesn't have a life that I want. I'm just
Mm.
not. I'm going to
Yeah.
look. I'm fully judging and assessing someone when they're giving me advice.
Yeah.
And if their body looks like a trash can and they have no success in their life and they have a terrible relationship with their wife, I'm like, everything you say, I'm deleting. I actually don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
My coach Wes Watson said he always says, uh, like, if I listen to you, am I going to turn out like you?
Mm.
Like, and that dude just says it. He'll say
Yeah.
it out loud. Like he's amazing, but I don't have those. I don't always have that kind of balls yet to just say that to people. But definitely, like, we all think that.
Yeah.
So I think that's what this developed into, is this compassion, and then the fear. Man, I just had the propensity to kind of start leaning into it through skateboarding, because
Mm.
skateboarding's scary, man. And so I started to realize in life, if I want to land the trick, like, I'm going to take some slams.
Yeah.
And whether that's in the form of rejection, judgment, losing money, failure, I just started to realize, like, sometimes I got to try that thing 10,000 times till I land it. And that bled over into my life in everything, you know?
Yeah. And your dad, like that's a big part of this too, is guys are listening to this and they're like, yeah, I can relate. We gravitate to the people we've seen. I like what you said about the skating, because we've seen people have success in one area, and somewhere in our brain we make the connection that they must be successful in every area, because
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
mentioned the discipline and all these things, but it doesn't really correlate. Like, we see guys, okay, you have a lot of kids, I got 2 kids, you're a dad of 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
dad of 5. So somebody sees you, they're like, oh, he's a dad of 5 kids. He must be an amazing dad. He must have everything figured out, right? And
Yeah. And behind closed doors, I'm like throwing them against the wall and just like a psycho, like, you just don't know.
right, right. You don't really know from the outside looking in, but you're really passionate about kind of peeling back the layers and having guys see what's real. And,
Yeah.
as a dad, as a husband, you know, you have a professional life, you had a professional life, and then you saw this need, and you saw this need in men. You took your compassion, you took your fiery edge, you took this lifestyle experience that you've had, where you said you've taken some slams along the way, and you created something special for guys that they can relate to.
Yeah.
How did that come to be? Because you know, guys can say, I'm a dad of 5. I'm just too busy. Just too busy. Can't do this. But you said, nope, it's more the reason to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to take away everyone's excuses, all of them.
Yeah.
So, like, there's no place where a man can tell me I don't have time or I can't do it or I don't have the genetics, or you just can't, because I'm living in a way that will show you that you can,
Yeah.
and that's my job. Um, so I fell into the banking industry um, in my early 20s. Started
Mm.
as a teller. I was a loser, man. I didn't have a college education. I didn't have any plans. I was a skateboarder, which, like, a lot of us skateboarders, like, we don't really latch on to like societal norms, or make plans for the future. A lot of it is like this psychotic obsession with the next trick that we're trying to land. And it is weird. It can actually hold you back. But if you like start to take, and this is a huge part of this, like, intentional with your life lessons. So you take your life lessons and you can apply them to everything in your life. Like I've applied skateboarding to everything. And then when I applied skateboarding to building my physique, I took my physique and built that into how to have great relationships with my kids, and my wife was transferred over into how to build a massive business and scale it, and how to be a leader. Like, all these things are now connected. Intentionally, now I understand these principles that you can move from one place to another. But if you obsess over one thing and you think the thing is the thing,
Mm.
that's the problem. It's the principles and the teachings within the thing that you're learning that that you need to really glom onto. So what I did is, in the bank, I started to use again what I learned in skateboarding. I was successful. I realized if I made enough calls, more than anyone else, I would close more loans and get more investments, close more accounts than anyone else. It was that simple.
Mm.
And things went really well till 2008, and I lost everything. That was the best kick in the balls I could ever had. We had our dream house. Life was good. And then I ended up moving in with my wife's parents, and literally losing everything, starting at ground zero. And I'm 28 years old, and I got a couple kids, and my wife's looking at me like, "Thanks, bro. Thanks a lot." You know. And so all that fear and insecurity that I had as a little kid, it's all back again as a 28-year-old man.
Wow.
And then I uh, somehow decided I wanted to be a fireman paramedic at 28. Like,
Yeah.
later in life, I didn't realize like a lot of guys do that. So like, if you're out there and you actually want to do something in your late 20s, understand, like, most people don't find what they actually want to do till like their late 20s, then 30s, and then a lot of times, like in my case, like, I had a shift in my really late 30s,
Yeah.
complete and utter shift. So if you don't have it all figured out right now, like, just work at something. A lot of guys I know will like start law school and they're like, this isn't for me. And then they start medical school and they're like, this isn't for me. And then they're like, they start business school and they're like, this isn't for me. It's like, just finish something.
Finish
Like,
something. Stick with it.
everything, yeah,
Yep.
everything you're going to do is going to have some suck to it. And so whatever you start, just finish it. So if you're in this position where you're like, I don't know if this is for me, just finish it, because then you'll have it. Like, if this guy would have finished law school, he would have been 2 years behind medical school, and then if
Mm.
he would have finished medical school, he would have been like 38 years old with a law degree and a doctor, and now that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like, you stick to it, you're going to become this amazing human that can
Yep.
offer some pretty cool things to the world, and then start a coaching business. And then you could
Yeah.
be like, I'm an attorney and I'm a doctor and I'm a coach.
Yeah.
And like, you're gonna get clients just because of that.
Yeah.
But I bounce around all over like a pinball. But going back to joining the fire service, like, I needed that, man. Like, I went in there with still a lot of insecurity and weakness, and some selfishness. Those guys just beat the hell out of me, like,
Mm.
emotionally. And it was the best bullying I could have had, because it was truth. They just hit you in the face with truth. And
Mm.
then everything is criticized, down to like how you cut an onion. Like, you're
Wow.
criticized. And a lot of people would say, like, these guys are dicks, I don't like them. And I did say that for a long time, but I stuck in there, and I had a good attitude, and I listened and I learned, and I got to the point where eventually, after 3 years or so, like, I earned my respect there, and I learned a
Yeah.
lot. I learned how to cut an onion the right way,
Yeah.
you know? And like, now, like, I was really good at it. And that bled over into how I ran calls and how I responded to fires and how I trained, and how I just showed up in the firehouse. And at that time, I started lifting weights a lot, and I started to realize, remember, oh shoot, if I show up more than anyone else,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be stronger than everyone else. You get a bunch of dudes together, and the guy who's the most jacked, the most lean, is gonna get some respect respect just straight out of discipline, right? So I saw that again where I was like, oh man, look, I changed my body and now people are talking to me different. They're
Mm.
asking me for help. And so I start training guys.
Yeah.
That training turned into this passion for helping guys find that confidence that I was lacking, that I found through getting my body right.
Mm.
And what I noticed was I wasn't the only one who's insecure around there. There's a lot
Right.
of chest puffers,
Yep.
chest puffing fakers walking around.
Yep.
And then I learned that almost everybody is a chest puffing, mask wearing faker. I was the only one who was honest. I was telling people I was scared and they would make fun of me. But guess what? They were more scared than I was.
Mm.
Wow. Huge epiphany. So now I actually realized I was surrounded by terrified men that were going home panicked with anxiety, drinking themselves to death to hide the pain.
Right.
I wasn't doing that. I
Mm.
was sitting in my pain. I wasn't running to substance. I was just dealing with it. Now, that didn't come with its own problems as a fireman.
Yeah.
Like, you go many days without sleep sometimes, see some terrible shit, and then you walk in the house and you're supposed to be this like great
Yeah.
leader to your family and you're dead inside and you have like all kinds of inner turmoil.
Yeah.
And therein lied this place where I had to figure out how to handle this monster that was growing in me and be able to show up for my kids and my wife, even amidst all this darkness that's been gathering up in my life
Mm-hmm.
from life in general, but also the job. You see a lot of stuff. You start to doubt God. You start to get angry. And I definitely grew a massive bucket of anger deep within my soul, which I still have. It never went away. And
Mm.
and at this point I don't want it to because it's my superpower.
Yeah. It
So
drives you.
yes, yes. And the way that I learned to handle it is I stopped fighting it and I found that compassion that was still in me. And then I sprinkled on a ton of gratitude on
Mm.
top of that anger compassion soup. and and that's where the power came from, is understanding that I am who I am, and anger is a very, very powerful emotion that if channeled and controlled with discipline,
Mm.
man, you can do some amazing things. I'm just going to be more motivated than anyone else. I'm just more angry.
Mm.
Now, there are people that are angry, but the anger gets a hold of them. What do? They
Yeah.
drink, they yell at their kids. But I was able to find the sweet spot where I found the discipline through practice of discipline.
Mm.
Discipline doesn't, it's not a switch. You don't just get discipline. Discipline's like skateboarding. You want to learn how to kickflip? It's going to take you thousands of tries to land a terrible one.
Mm.
And then it's going to take another 10,000 to land it clean. And then it's going to take another 20,000 to get it where it's fairly consistent. Discipline is no different. You
Yeah.
have to show up every day and keep pushing and stop being like, oh, I failed. See, I'm a piece of shit. No, you haven't practiced long enough.
Mm.
Like, you want to get good at basketball, you got to show up to practice. Discipline's no different.
I love what you said about discipline. I love because discipline is, I find discipline is learned, right? You can't just, like you said, you can't just flip a switch on.
Yeah.
Why do men who are successful on one hand, maybe they don't see success, but they're successful. Why do they struggle with discipline in other areas of their life? When they find discipline in one area, why isn't it translating to the others?
Because they're using it as an excuse.
Hmm.
Because they're selfish and they're trying to scratch their ego and they're looking for them to feel good. So, like a guy that makes money, he'll be
Yeah.
like, I'm a baller. I'm making money, but he's fat and he drinks all the time. And he's kind of a shitty husband, doesn't really show up for them, works all day, comes home, is kind of apathetic, doesn't really give them a lot of attention because hey, man, I worked today. I did what I got to do, sits on the couch, has a drink, watches the game while his wife slaves over him, and then picks up his cereal bowls off the
Hmm.
ground to go put
Yeah.
away. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so I see a lot of these guys, business starts to go bad, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like right now, the real estate's not so good. So I get a lot of guys calling me that are in real estate and they'll be talking to me like they're a baller. They're like,
Hmm.
they got their Lambos and shit talking and, and they're just like, oh yeah, money's not a problem for me, but really their business is going belly up. but they don't want to. They won't tell me the truth. They won't say like man, the market's really crushing me right now, and I see my body and my family. I realize like my whole life's in shambles.
Yeah.
But I could see it right away. Like I don't
Right.
like I talk to so many men. Like the second I see them start talking, I'm like, I know where you're at, dude. I
Mm.
know the right questions to ask.
Yeah.
But but what happens is in that moment you see clearly. Like you see like everything fell apart. And then I
Mm.
see they make a good business decision, they start making money again. Oh man, I'm good.
Yeah.
They stop working on their diet, they stop working out, they stop worrying about anything else. They're just addicted to that dopamine rush of the it's pure selfishness. If you're actually trying to create your best self for your people, then you're going to create your best self in all aspects for your people. If
Yeah.
it's just for you, like, dude, if it's just for me, I'm eating donuts. I ain't getting out of bed, dude.
Yeah. Let's talk about
And
that for a second. If it's just for you, it's not enough. And men struggle with making it one, making it not just about them. And so all of a sudden, they're like, oh, I can't make it about me. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I want to do these other things. And then they come up with the struggling with balance. And I know you're passionate about helping guys, like, but when you hear this, I'm struggling with balance, whatever you want to call it, work, life, fitness, money, whatever. What do you say to guys who are struggling with that?
I say, stop making excuses and get obsessed.
Mm.
Stop trying to, there's no balance. There's psychotic obsession. That's
Mm.
it. Like, if you want to be this guy that you want to be, pick these guys picture in their head like some jack rip dude making tons of money with this amazing wife. They have
Yeah.
sex all the time. It's incredible. The kids are happy. They respect their father. Like, you think that shit comes easy, man? That's
Yeah.
like trying to be a professional athlete in four sports.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a good way to
So it's
put it.
like,
Yeah.
so what? I mean, your life then has to be obsessed, which means like if you're chilling, watching Netflix and like wasting time on Instagram and like you look at your life and see like if you have 4 hours that you wasted today, do you realize you could have built $100 million business
Mm.
with 4 hours a day, like over time, right? Like that. Now, I listen. I don't have $100 million business, so I probably shouldn't say that because I don't like saying things I haven't done. But technically, it makes sense. Like you're
Yeah.
creating more time to focus in a certain area to develop a skill that you can sell. Call it $1 million business.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
you can do that. I did that. I built a 7-figure business in 18 months,
Mm.
and I did that with just taking time and adding more by getting up earlier and staying up a little later, and then compressing it by being better at blocking out my time and then having non-negotiables set in each area of my life.
Mm.
And then once those become non-negotiables, that's what they are. They get done, right? And
What are
so, yeah,
what are some
now
examples? What are some examples of non-negotiables that you put into your life that other guys could put into theirs to start making progress?
well, most guys don't even work out every day. Like
Mm.
they say I don't have time, but then they're sleeping in, and they're like,
Mhm.
no, I get up at 6:30 every day. You're sleeping in.
Yeah.
You're sleeping in. Like people saw the Jocko thing 4:30, and even back when he first started, I was like, that's crazy. And now I'm like, that's insane not to get up at 4:30. That's crazy. Like 4:30. If I get up at 4:30, I'm late to the party, bro. Like
Yeah.
I my day's sorry if I get up at 4:30. Like it's just I have my systems in place where like I get 3 hours of work done before I go to the gym at 5:30 with my family.
Mm.
And listen, don't do it. I don't just like come out the gates. We talked about discipline as a volume, right? Like
Yeah.
you can't just be like, well, this guy does this, so I'm going to do this. Dude, if you're used to getting up at 7 every morning, just kick it back an hour. Be good at that. Then kick it back a half hour. Then get good at that. And then kick it back another half hour and just work your way back over the course of time. And then be really specific about what you do at night. Because I
Mm.
know a lot of you idiots are drinking at night and it's screwing up your sleep. And dude, I couldn't do this if I drank. There's no way. There's no way I could be this effective if I drank, especially every day. It would be no way. It's like
Right.
that thing is like what screws people up the most.
Mm.
And argue with me all you want. Like I work with hundreds of men and I see it. Drinking is the worst trade off.
Yeah.
Now, I don't even believe that alcohol is bad. It's a substance. But in your life, what is it you want,
Yep.
and what is affecting what you want. It's simple as that, right?
Yep.
And if you want something and you're letting a substance stop you from getting what you want, you are addicted. That's called an alcoholic. So just say it. I'm addicted. Just say it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's understanding what you prioritize. What you prioritize shows in what you do. It shows in who you are, how you approach people, how you approach conflict, whatever it is. But if you're prioritizing having a beer on a weeknight over going to the gym in the morning, you're going to get those results. Like, it's
Yeah,
not a
unless you're
surprise you are
like,
where you are.
I want to be a fat guy and I want to be unhealthy and I
Mm,
want to sleep in. If that's you, then by all means,
mm,
be that guy. I imagine your wife doesn't want that, and your kids, they're probably pretty disappointed that they have you as a father. And but I mean, that's up to you. Your wife married you. That's on her too. Your kids didn't choose you, so I think you're kind of an asshole. But I can't force you to do that or force you to want that. But if you say you want it, I want the body, I want the business, I want the relationships, and then you're having beers every night before bed.
yeah. What are some other pitfalls that guys could fall into that are going to distract them from, achieving what they might want to achieve or with their goals? Like, as they get up, they have this saying like, "This is what I want to do," and then there's some things you mentioned, the substance, the
Yeah,
routines of just the status quo of what everybody else is doing. But what are some other pitfalls that you've seen guys who've
yeah.
come to you struggle with?
Like distraction is huge, whatever that may be. Just distraction with video games and phones and Netflix and all that. Just apathy. So
Mm,
like whenever you start a new endeavor of sorts, like we always tell our guys, the enemy's coming and the enemy's name is apathy. And he's going to show up at your bedside anywhere from 7 to 10 days after you start this process. So, because everyone starts amped, right?
yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
this is great. I'm going to change my life. And then day 7 through 10, maybe like around day 8, you wake up and it's like you're covered in a brick wall. Like you can't get out of bed unless you knew it was coming. So
Mm-hmm.
that when you feel it, you're like, oh, this is what they're talking about. And so we say when apathy shows up, kick him in the teeth before he can attack you. You know, you gotta get violent with that thing, and you
Yeah.
got to make a move quick. And that's why I like getting up early. That's why I like going right into a cold shower. That's why I like, because you're fighting this apathy all the time by going full overboard where it has no power over you.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
um, and apathy will get you to negotiate. And I would be a liar if I didn't say I negotiate almost every morning throughout the day. I'm always still negotiating. I'd like to get to a point where I'm not, but
Yeah.
like I still like lay in bed sometimes for like 5 minutes, and I'm like,
Do I really? Yeah. Should I? Shouldn't
you
I?
know, like, and I'll like grab my phone just so the light will go in my eyes, and I'll start working on like my stories. But
Mm,
technically, that's not my system. Like my system is not to just start working on writing from bed. It's to
right.
get up and go get in that cold shower. So sometimes I will start negotiating, and then if I get up, I'll stand in front of that cold shower and it's running, and I'm just like kind of pacing, like, oh my god, this is so goddamn hard. I'm like, I get slack from this from some guys on Instagram. Like I get guys like sending me messages like, dude, stop being such a pussy, and I'm like, dude, you might be the toughest guy on the planet. Congratulations. But I
Yeah.
look at their pages and I'm like, you ain't consistent, bitch. Like, but I just take it. I go, you're right. Like, cause they're right. I am. And so,
Mm,
or like sometimes my workout videos, like I push myself in my workouts and I go to the point where I feel like my whole body's burning and like my ears are ringing. And sometimes at the end of like, I'm like hobbling around and shit. And I get comments like, man, quit being so weak, man. Quit crying. And I'm just thinking, like, I want to think, like, bro, come do this workout with me and see. But in reality, they're right. So I just listen. I'm like, you're right. You're right. I need to toughen up.
But speak to the importance that facing hard things has, right? You look at that cold shower, it's hard.
Yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah.
about
This,
this
I hate
here,
it. It's the worst.
man. Here's my equivalent. I live in Canada. I get up in the morning. I want to get to the gym. I'm leaving my house. It's about 4:45. It's minus 32 degrees Celsius outside.
Bro.
Yeah.
Dude, God bless you.
And so
Respect.
and it's like, oh, and I walk out the back door and I hear that on the ice snow because it's not even soft snow. It's like frozen solid,
Yeah,
like ice snow.
yeah, yeah,
And there's
yeah,
time, man, that negotiation that happens until I get,
yeah,
even when I get in the
yeah,
truck, I'm still
yeah.
negotiating. Like, do I want to drive?
Oh
I
God,
get it,
yes,
man. But speak to the
yes.
importance of facing hard things. We all negotiate. It's the truth. Somebody can say they don't, but we do. But what is the importance of breaking through and saying, no, I'm not going to do this. Yeah, I'm going to do the hard things. Like, why is that important?
So soft life, soft body, soft spirit, soft mind. And we all know it because what happens is our ability to handle stress drops significantly when we're always comfortable.
Mm,
And this is where most men lie. They lie in this place where they're constantly looking for the easy road and looking for comfort. This is where all this irritation and inability to handle inconvenience and everything is such a problem, and all this bitching and moaning that happens and negative reactions that bleed right into your wife's face and all over your kids, and all they're getting is negativity from you because you're soft. You can't handle anything. And so what happens is when you start manufacturing hardship, because we have to, because life's too easy, your bed's too damn comfortable, your showers are too warm, you have way too much food. And really, what do you have to do to get all that? Not much. Like you could sit in a fairly low stressful place and have a kind of a shitty apartment, but still eat all you want, and everything's still warm and air conditioned if it's hot. And it's like everything's so comfortable, you know? And then we think it's all sad when like a family of four lives in a one bedroom apartment and like they're below the poverty line. It's like they have a roof over their head, they have plenty of food, they have a warm shower, and they all have comfortable places to sleep. Like, is it really that sad? Like, America's amazing, man. Like, it, you don't have to do much to get a lot, you know? So with that comes just this bleed over of weakness. And so we have to train. We have to train for the hard times that are coming. Health problems, relationship problems, just day to day drudgery and stress. And then, God forbid, you want to actually build something amazing, you better be able to handle some stress. Like, you want to be like a CEO of a company or build something and have lead employees and or move up in your company and lead teams. Like, you are going to have to deal with a lot of stress.
mm,
And if you haven't prepared for it, you're going to fold like a lawn chair when hard times come.
yeah. For you as a dad, as you go through this and you're driven to help others and you're building your business, and yet you still want to be a dad and you want to be a husband, what's an area right now that you're digging into, an area of growth or an area of improvement? And you're like, I'm excited about this. I'm digging into it right now.
Yeah, I mean, every driven man has a hard time connecting with his wife in a very emotional and spiritual way
Mm,
because we're warriors, man. Like, we want to fight. Like, my default with my wife is like knuckles, chest bump. What's up, bro?
mm,
Like, I want to bro out with my wife. She does not want that.
yeah.
Like, because my wife's my friend, and I bro out with my friends. She's like, I'm not your bro. I'm not at the firehouse. Stop calling me dude.
Yeah.
We work out together too, and I respect the hell out of her. She's a hardworking girl. She's just ripped, man. Super disciplined. She's like, she runs her own women's group and just crushes it and pushes me, like
Mm,
requires from me to be my best. And she calls me out when I'm not, which I would not be this guy if it wasn't for my wife. She
yeah.
forces me to be this way. If I didn't step up this way, she'd be gone. She'd be
Mm,
like, get out of my way, loser. I'm a queen. You know what I
mm,
mean?
yeah.
And I appreciate that from her because she sets the example for me too. And I like to think that I inspire her to be better as well. But there's this pride wall to be soft
Mm,
and like sweet, you know? It's like like on her birthday, you'll write a card and it's kind of hard to write because you're just like getting a little lovey in there and it's a little embarrassing and you're like, yeah. You give her the card, and then she looks at you and is like, oh, and you're like, you're almost like, yeah, don't do that. Like, it's cool. Yeah, I love you, babe. Love you, babe. You know, it's like this, like, it's such a big deal for her, though. She got this card and you actually shared some emotion. Man, let me tell you, when you actually stop being weak and scared and you like just get in this place where you don't write her a card, but you actually hold her hands and look her in the eyes and you tell her those things, bro, that's what they want, man. And a lot of guys I tell that to, they're like, I don't know how to do that. I can't
Yeah.
do that. I can't do that. I'm like, dude, I get it. I get it. It took me a long time. And now a non-negotiable, do that every day.
Mm.
That has to happen. And I'm more terrified of that than anything else in my life. It's the most uncomfortable spot for me. But I also understand how important that is and how much that's changed my relationship with my wife. They want emotional connection so bad. Most of you are making them starve for it, which is why they withhold sex from you because they're not getting emotional connection from you. You know, so I mean, that's a challenge for all, myself included, because when you're at war and you're like working, especially if you're building a business or something, it's so easy for 7 days to go by and it feels like one day. And
Yeah.
you're like, and my wife sometimes will come up and be like, you haven't even looked at me in 7 days. And I'm like, it's been 7 days? She's like, yeah, it's been a week. I'm like, but I've just been head down, covered in blood and mud, just like on the attack, you know? But I'm like, went to the gym together, like we've been hanging out, like we we were talking about business all day today, like we were working on things.
Yeah.
She's like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm like,
Mm.
you know. So for me, it's been a lot of like morning texts or huge, just stupid, like I love you, can't wait to see you this morning, because I get up like 2 hours before my wife, so I'll have a text waiting for her when she wakes up, and then every Friday night we go dancing now. Which again, she asked me for almost 10 years, asked me
Yeah.
to go dancing, and I was like, that's dumb. I'm not doing that. I'm not a dancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I realized that like why would I not do that for her? You
Yeah.
know, so like tonight, I like I planned the date. We're going dancing. We're getting massages, and then we're going to Thai food. And I planned it. Like
Nice.
you have to plan the dates. Don't let your wife do it anymore. Everybody's wife always plans the dates. You just show up and like you plan it. Like
Yeah.
these things are massive. So this is what I've been working on this last couple of years. Really, is like getting that super dialed in. I think it's easier to be a good attentive dad than it is to be a good husband. I think it is.
Yeah.
Like with my daughter, like I'll see my daughter and I'll just connect with her. I'll look in her eyes and I'll kiss her and I'll baby talk to her. It's so easy. But with my wife, it's hard to do that. And I'm trying to figure out why that is and what
Yeah.
that is. And I'm starting to learn that there's this resistance because you're kind of in this battle together in life, and you're always a little pissed off at each other because there's life's hard and it's a grind, and you
Yeah.
can't help but blame each other for some things. And that's why like you gotta let it go and force this connection. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everybody does.
Yeah. Everybody's like, oh yeah. You mentioned the date thing. Just plan the date. How many of us have gone through a period where we take our wife on a date and we get into the vehicle and we're like, hey, where do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do
Yeah,
you
it's
want to eat?
terrible, dude.
It's terrible, man.
God,
Like that.
and then it
Indecision
causes a
drives me
fight.
nuts. Yeah.
I used to
Yeah.
do that all the time, man. It's so embarrassing. Like, who's leading the family here? She just wants you to step up and be the man. She just wants you to lead, man.
Yeah. We're
It's
just
like,
going here and doing this. Yeah.
oh man, and then like call ahead on the restaurant, have them put candles and roses on the table or something. Like just stupid stuff like that is so. I didn't realize how insanely powerful that stuff is.
Yeah. Cool.
You know.
So, you have Superhuman Fathers. Tell us a bit about Superhuman Fathers, what it is, and where guys can find out more information about it.
Yeah, we're gonna trick you. Like you see all of our physical transformations, and you're like, damn, I want to get ripped because like really look at our transformations and like you'll be like that those are the best in the world. Like it's crazy. And they just keep pumping out more and more and more. But then read what they write.
Yeah.
And that's the key, is like the physical thing for us is easy. it's the reason why the physical side's easy, because when we get the heart and the mind and the spirit right, and we start changing the stories we tell ourselves about what it is we truly want, and then we start taking out the things in our life one at a time that we're being called to give up or to start doing, start listening and actually acting rather than making excuses, man, things in your life start to really light on fire. And so, yeah, you're going to get ripped working with us. That is easy. But like in our roundtable Zoom calls that we have every single day, we're talking about purpose and vision, discipline, family and leadership, and fatherhood, and marriage and business, and grit, and then we're holding each other accountable and returning and reporting on how we're doing every week, or every day, really. Some of the guys come on every call every day, which is rad. And we just require guys to come on like 2 or 3 times a week to stay in the brotherhood. And then we sketch out all your workouts and have a chat in our app. And it's just this community where, like, most people don't have high level people around them ever.
Yep.
They're like, sometimes they want to level up, but everyone else is dragging them down. So you come here, you're gonna be at the bottom of the heap. Like, you're gonna be like, oh damn, everybody's pushing it, And so you
Yep.
can't help but elevate.
Yep. Very cool. If somebody wants to connect with you, learn more about it, where can they do that?
Yeah, Superhuman Fathers at Superhuman Fathers on Instagram is probably a really good spot. And then we have a YouTube, and that's Superhuman Fathers, or under my name, Kyle Carnohan. I think I have a couple YouTubes, but you'll find the one that is Superhuman Fathers. And that's got, like, my wife and I started a podcast. We got the first episode on there. We have all the episodes of our latest live retreat we did with Superhuman Fathers, which is pretty cool. You see me doing some coaching in there. You can see some guys having some massive breakthroughs. But yeah, those are probably the two spots. And then just hit me up in the DMs or go to superhumanfathers.com to apply for the brotherhood.
Excellent. Kyle, I appreciate you. Thanks for taking time out of your Friday. I know you're heading off to date night tonight. Have a good night with your wife. But I appreciate you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for letting me chat with you, man.